Welcome back to another episode of the Minot Business Podcast presented by Bennett Creative Media. I'm Easton Bennett, your ever-curious host. If you've been enjoying our series of business interviews, don't forget to rate and review. It really helps us keep bringing insightful conversations to your ears each and every week. On the show today, we have Desiree Carlson, the passionate owner of Esther's Acres. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I made sure I got the name right. I asked beforehand. I got it right. Is that how you pronounce Esther's Acres?
Yes, Esther's Acres.
When you throw the STH together, it's hard to get it out.
It's a tricky one.
Hey, 2 for 2 there. So this is going to be a good episode. All right. So let's dive right into the questions. One thing we love to do on the show, tell people never met you. They don't know what you do. Give us a little rundown of what you're all about.
Sure. So I'm Desiree Carlson. I am the co-owner of Esther's Acres. My husband is the other owner. We do eggs, chicken, lamb, and then we dabbled in CSA this year with vegetables, kind of learning that we like the meat side better. But yeah, that's kind of our farm thing. And then I also recently got a job with Strength and ND as a strong farm educator. So It's all kind of new. It's like within the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I do that. And then I also help out with some other like social media with other farms and other things. But yeah.
So Ann Olson was on the podcast here a couple weeks ago. She had glowing reviews of you. So it's exciting to have you on the show here now. We're going to talk a little bit about the Strength and ND stuff down the road a bit. You can kind of tell us a little bit about that. But first off, let's kind of get started. You and your husband, co-owners. Let's talk about the origin story. How did the idea to start, Esther's Acres begin? Yeah.
So Esther's Acres was formerly known as like Roselawn Farms. That's what the family originally named it. And it's been in the Carlson name since like 1900. So it was like a Homestead Act thing where they came, worked the land and got the land. So then in 2020, me and my husband, his name is Forrest, we moved back to the farm. He's a teacher. We were living up in Botano and I was working at a restaurant. COVID hit. We were both stuck at home.
Yep.
Like, what are we going to do? So we came back to the farm. We got a few chickens, kind of just were like, oh, let's do the homestead thing. We'll like just grow for our own family. And eventually that just turned into more and more and more. And I just really like social media marketing and that kind of stuff. So it just kind of came naturally. I went to school to be an educator. I never actually finished, so I never taught. But I did like para work and I was in the school systems. I worked in Minot here for like a year or two. But yeah, then once I had my daughter in 2021, 2021, she just turned 2 last week. Anyways, then we kind of were like, okay, well, if I'm going to stay home with her, like we got to figure this out. Like if we're going to make money, if I'm going to stay home, we got to make money type of thing. So we just started it. We named it Esther's Acres. I can tell the whole story about that.
I was going to say, that's what I was going to ask next is where the name came from.
Yeah.
Because it was in the Carlson name.
So it was Roselawn Farms. And when I was like, okay, we're going to make this an actual business, like they had farm stuff all throughout the history. They always had animals there. But they didn't really do direct to consumer sales. So it wasn't like I don't even know if they used Roselawn Farms or if it was just like call name. So when we were like, okay, we're going to do like farm to table sales, we got to come up with a name that's going to be like a little different. So Esther was actually the first woman that was at the farm. So it's my husband's great grandmother, my daughter's great grandmother. Yeah. And they came from Wisconsin and she lived in like this beautiful place. She left the nice rolling hills and came to the prairie, and a lot of people say she was my husband always says she was crotchety. I do not like that word, but
that's a difficult word.
Yeah. So she kind of was just like, this hardworking lady she had to be in, the middle of nowhere, North Dakota in 1900. So I kind of like the idea of doing that because I'm also from Minnesota. I'm not from Wisconsin, but I came here. We kind of moved back to the family farm. Like, hey, we're going to start this whole business thing. It's like kind of aligns. So yeah, that's what we went with, Esther's Acres.
I like the acres because you see a lot of, farms, right? Yeah. They just end XYZ farm or XYZ farms. Acres is like it's a good word. I have a weird fascination with like good words. Yeah. I'll be watching a movie and I'm like, that's a great name. It's names and words, things you can fit in there. So I really like that. So farm's motto, is it still growing together? Do you go by that?
Is it what?
Growing together. Your motto. I think I saw that online when I was doing some research.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
It was like one of our first things. I might have just totally missed that or totally changed that. Our motto right now is home raised, rotationally grazed, real food.
Oh, a little rhyme action.
We're trying. So basically, home raised. Obviously, it's on the farm. It's being raised at home. Rotationally grazed is when you're moving your livestock to a new, we call them paddocks. Basically, it's just a different area of pasture all the time, so that if you put all of your livestock in one big open field, they can overgraze it, and then they end up running out of grass faster. So when you're rotationally grazing, it gives the grass more time to grow back, and it's just more.
I didn't even think about that. So they just
environmentally friendly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh, that'd be me if I was in
right.
See, you put me in my own house and it's just, I need to rotationally graze.
Yeah. It also cuts back on so we have sheep and they will just eat and eat the grass until it gets down to the roots. And then they have a higher chance of getting parasites.
Okay.
Because the parasites are in the dirt. So if you're moving them, it's just better overall for everyone.
Okay. I was shooting some photos in Teddy Roosevelt National Park, taking some pictures of some buffaloes for a project. And those things would not stop eating. Yeah. Like I just wanted a photo, a profile, just pick your head up and just like look forward. And I couldn't get one. They were just really focused, just head in the ground. Yeah.
That's actually so when people started talking about rotationally grazing, they actually like base it off of the bison or buffalo or whatever, because, like in history, they moved all over the place on their own. So it's kind of how they like teach it now, like move them as like a wild animal would do.
Is that customary? Is that standard?
No.
Or is that something unique to what you guys do, the rotationally grazed prep?
It's becoming more popular. I would say that it's kind of like an eco-friendly thing. Okay. Not a lot around here, but I see it. There are a few people that are doing it.
Okay, so then let's dive into the CSA then. For people that don't know, what does the CSA stand for?
So CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. Basically, it's like a local food subscription box almost. You pay ahead of time, and then you try and bring like the best of the best to those people. Okay,
so then let's talk about the thought process. When you were going into that, were you guys doing direct to consumer before you did the CSA, or did you kind of launch it all together, or are they the same thing?
It was very much a last minute idea. I don't know how I stumbled upon this person, but there's a lady out in Wisconsin and she has like a 400 member CSA and she has a CSA like marketing course. Okay. And I stumbled upon that. I love marketing. I got like sucked in. And so I took the course and was like, oh, I can do this. Like, this is so easy. And so we launched it. And then I realized like, I'm really good at the marketing side. The actual like pulling through all of this, like it was difficult. This season, it was a lot harder than we expected. We had a ton of issues with like grasshoppers.
I was gonna say, what was the biggest issue you were running into?
Definitely insect pressure in the beginning of the season. And then I felt like this year, as far as weather goes, it was kind of weird. Like we had a really dry summer and then now it's really wet. And it's just kind of, it was different than what we had ever been used to. And we also put our garden in a brand new space. So it was like we were battling native prairie. Yeah. And if you know anything about gardening, like planting into grass is just really hard.
So it's better when you plant in the same area over and over. Yeah. Is that kind of what you're saying? So when you're in a new area, it's harder?
It's just harder to establish a garden. So we were trying to do it as a no-till garden just because tillage, it just like breaks up the dirt. And then there's a lot of wind that will come through in North Dakota and it just blows the soil away. So yeah.
A little difficult.
It was a lot, but we made it. We're all done now. Like we pushed through, we crossed it off the list of things we can do, but.
So you went into that and you were doing everything, right? You were doing vegetables, you were doing meats, you were doing eggs.
Yep. So we did we did 12 weeks. We did vegetables, we did eggs, and then we did chicken once a month. So we just would bring 2 chickens to each family. Okay. On like the last week of the month or whatever, but.
And what did you learn from it? Was it a good experience, bad experience? You going to keep doing it?
So I learned that collaborating with other people is really helpful and important. And that you shouldn't do everything on your own. Some people can totally do it. They're great at gardening. They can crush it. And like, if you can do that on your own, kudos to you. But it's just like not something that we can do, especially in this season of life with a toddler and just all these other ideas that are constantly flowing through our heads. Like my husband is still working full time. I'm like, this is a lot. So I've definitely learned that I like the idea of it. I like the model. I like the CSA because you get those payments up front and like to a small farmers in this area, that's really helpful. Yeah. But doing it on your own is hard, and collaborating with other people is.
What do you mean by collaboration? Like actually having them provide some of the produce and okay.
So I think you guys talked about a little bit about the multi-farm CSA. So we're doing a trial run this fall actually. And so what the model is we've got a little over 10 producers. I think there's like 12 of us that have kind of come together and said, okay, we are going to put together a box. This autumn one or this fall one is just 4 weeks long.
Okay. So when I was doing some research on the podcast, I saw that popped up.
Yeah, just kind of testing out the waters and just see how it works, like collaborating all together. So what each person will do, so like us, we will be providing eggs, chicken, and lamb because we feel like those are what we're good at. Mm-hmm. And then people like Anne, she'll be doing potatoes, onions, things that she's good at. And then we've got, 12 other or 10 people, whatever. And we'll just put it all together in one big box. And then those people will come and pick it up. And they just enjoy their box of local foods. It's kind of like a harvest. What's that one company where you can get like...
There's HelloFresh.
Yes, it's like HelloFresh, but local foods.
That's what I was just going to say. Have you guys... I think the next step, once you guys get all that combination, you start throwing some recipe cards in there.
Oh, that's our plan. We like broke it up into weeks of like, okay, this week we're going to have chicken. We're kind of basing it off of the protein because we got meat for each box this time, like a different kind. We got bison, chicken, lamb, and sausage. Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of like put all these different recipes together. I actually used ChatGPT.
Shout out
to them. Yeah. But if you like put all the ingredients in, you're like, give me some recipes, and they just pop it up. Like, thank you.
Yeah. I'm saying it's underrated. Last week we had on the podcast Travis Johnson from Unmanned Operator, the drone service. Mm-hmm. And I don't even think we talked about it on the show, but we were talking about it before the show. He graduated high school with one of the co-founders of ChatGPT.
Wow.
And he said, we thought he was going to be a rocket scientist.
Yeah,
I'm like, now he's changing my life. I said, next time you see him, tell him I said thank you.
Right. I'm sure everybody's like, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few things that I'm like, I don't know about this whole AI thing. But when it comes to ChatGPT, I'm like, it's pretty convenient.
There's a lot of things. Like even I used it to write an email the other day because I was like, it had to be semi-professional and well worded. And I was like, here's the idea I'm going for. Right. Make this sound a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's not like you just tell it, like, just do something and it's not, like, personalized. Like, if you want it to be good, if you want it to write a good thing, like a good prompt, or you have to give a good prompt is what I'm trying to say. Like,
ChatGPT, I think, it's going to be a skill to prompt ChatGPT. Like, that's going to be a skill people are going to put on resumes.
Definitely.
It's like, I'm efficient in Excel. It's like, well, now it's going to be prompting ChatGPT.
Right, yeah.
So you mentioned... You guys said you're better at the meat side of things. Excuse me. When you are you guys going to do a CSA next year? Or you think you're going to focus more on the meats, or are you going to kind of see how this multi-farm CSA goes and then?
Yeah. So we've kind of decided that we're not going to do a vegetable CSA on our own. If we do the CSA model, it will be an attempt at doing the multi-farm CSA. Okay. As long as that goes well this fall. But I'm feeling like it's probably going to go pretty well. Everybody seems good. The problem that I think we're gonna run into is if we do a multi-farm CSA over the whole summer, there's a lot of variability that can happen with weather, insects, whatever happens. Yeah. So instead of doing like 16 weeks at a time, I'm thinking that we might lean more towards doing like 4 weeks at a time so that we can know like, okay, if you're planting this right now, you're probably gonna have that. Whereas like I don't know.
If you're like, I need 18 weeks.
And it's just like, how do you plan for that? Yeah, it's very confusing. And there's other places around the United States that do it and they're successful. So I should probably just get in contact with them. But
just send a feeler out.
Yeah, but just kind of figuring it out.
How was it when you had, because you obviously had a multitude of different things you guys were providing. What was that like trying to balance the produce, pasture raised meats, the eggs, all of it?
It was a lot. And we were also delivering, which is one, like, it was good and it was fine. But looking back now, like, if you ever want to expand on something, delivering is just not feasible for me anyways. It needs like an actual employee, like you're just doing the delivering type of thing. But
were you guys doing delivering?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was.
Yeah. And were you personally doing it?
Yep. With my toddler.
Because how many did you have?
We had about 20. So it wasn't big, but it takes time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to 20 different locations. That can't be.
Yeah.
It's kind of a time suck.
Well, and not even just delivering. It's like you have to harvest all of those, and you have to pack all of the bags individually. You have to load the bags into the vehicle, then you have to drive to town. You have to get out of your vehicle, like, etc. Like it all adds up.
Get back into your vehicle, get out of your vehicle. Get
exactly. Like,
yeah. I remember when I had a clothing company when I first started in high school. I had shirts and hats and stuff, and to save the $4 on shipping, I would just pack it up and go drop it off. I think I was putting it in their mailbox, but what I think I found out is that's illegal. I don't think I'm allowed to put stuff in other people's mailboxes, but I wanted it to feel like it was coming from a postal service.
Oh gosh.
So I was just sneaking around to houses, dropping them off in mailboxes. Statute of limitations, though, it's past 7 years, so they can't arrest me for it.
There you go.
How has the community responded to the CSA and being involved in this whole process?
I feel like it's great, and it really helped our business, like in general. Like I feel like the people that we got signed up were so entrepreneur minded, and I'm not sure if that was because of how I advertised in the beginning, but it just seems like almost every family that signed up had some sort of entrepreneur side to them. And maybe that's why they signed up so quickly, because they're like, yes, like here's a young person just trying to start a business. Type of thing. But it's just been really cool. Like our CSA members come to the farmers market and see us, and we're like, hey, how's it going? Yeah. And then, or like they'll tell other people about us, and then those people will come and be like, yeah, so-and-so told me. I'm like, nice.
Getting the word of mouth out
there. Yeah.
So the farmers market, what's that like?
That's actually been really fun. I enjoy it. It's coming close to an end, so it's kind of winding down. But we primarily just bring eggs, chicken, and lamb. We had a few days where we had some extra produce that we would bring. But yeah, we bring like 60 dozen eggs, and they sell out in like 2 hours max. So it's really fun. But yeah.
Lamb. So I was in Williston, and I went to a Turkish restaurant called 3E. And they had like lamb, like kebabs. And there was a couple other meats on it too, but that was the first time I'd had lamb.
What'd you think of it?
It was life-changing.
It's different.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I really liked it. So, I mean, that's the first time I've had it. And then I also had, I want to say elk for the first time, like a couple months ago. And I was like, okay, this is really good too. So yeah, I'm expanding the meat selection. So let's talk a little bit about the education side. When I was digging through the website, it looks like you have some cool programs going on, some other resources that people can buy or look at or that are outside of, the farming. Talk to me a little bit about those. What are those?
Yeah. So before we started the farm, I kind of had this idea. We've got an old schoolhouse on our property. And we kind of had this idea of like restoring it and having like a little mini preschool type of thing. Definitely not going to happen anymore, but it was an idea. And so I actually worked for a different company, and I made like homeschool curriculum basically. Okay. So I just had this like excitement about making that kind of stuff. So we've done like some coloring pages, and I can't even remember what's all on there anymore. I did it all last winter, but and we did like a farm tour video where I like recorded this video walking around the farm, showing all the animals. And then I do like a 15-minute live Q&A with the little kids. And it's the cutest thing ever. They're like, mostly it's like preschool and kindergartners. And they're just asking like the most random questions, but it's so fun just to see them, get excited about the farm. I'd like to bring that back a little bit more as we get into winter. Right now we're still kind of a little bit busy, but yeah, it's just fun to have something.
Well, it's good substitute, especially in winter, North Dakota, lovely time.
Right.
When you're not growing any, I assume you're not growing anything unless you got some sort of cool area to grow it in. But yeah, it's cool to have these different services during the winter. And then when the summer comes around, you can.
Yeah. It's kind of like something, I don't want to say I was like forced to do it, but it was like I forced myself to figure something out. I'm like, if I'm going to be staying at home with like my daughter and everything, I have to figure out some sort of income. It's not very conventional, but I was like, it's okay.
It's cool though. It's a different way. And that's what I like telling about these stories on the podcast is people are figuring out different ways to make money and, enjoy their day to day.
Yeah.
Hopefully you enjoy it.
I have to share another thing we did this last spring was our Rent a Chick program.
Yes, I was just going to bring it up.
Yes. Yeah, that was really fun. So what we did was each family got 3 chicks and they got to take them home. We just had like a plastic tote. Okay. We put all the supplies that they needed in there, like bedding, food, a heat lamp, whatever. And they took care of them for 2 weeks and then they brought them back to the farm and we just kept them and now they're laying eggs. And they got like a little gift certificate for a dozen eggs that they could come to the farmer's market and be like, oh, look, my chicks have grown up. Now they're laying eggs. Nobody has done that yet. So if you're listening, come get your free eggs.
If you rented a chick, you've got some eggs waiting for you.
Yeah, but it was really cool, and there was so many pictures that we got of all these people holding their chicks.
How'd you come up with that?
I had a friend out in Virginia that did it on their farm, so it wasn't my original idea. But
what's the idea behind it? Just for them to kind of learn a little bit more about the whole process, or is it just helping you not have to raise them and then they can?
No, I mean we still had more that we had to raise ourselves, so it wasn't like a huge help for us. But what it really was is in Minot, you're not allowed to have chickens.
Okay, you got to be outside of city limits.
Yeah, you have to be outside of city limits. So I'm sad about that, but also understand. But I thought, okay, these kids, if they ever wanted to have that experience, like they can't. So I'm like, how can I offer that? These chicks are in their house. It doesn't matter. Like they can do whatever they want with them while they're in their house. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was kind of that, and just kind of. It was when I was like really, really passionate about like the education side. I still am, but it was like my winter mode. I'm like,
and that comes from your teacher background.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I really like finding that connection, or like when I'm talking to somebody and I tell them about something about a chick or something. They're like, aha, wow, I learned something.
So can I have chickens in my house? I just can't have them outside? Or is it you can have them as chicks? And then once they get to a certain point, you got to...
Maybe there's a rule about anything inside your house. I don't think there is. But I think the problem is that they don't want to have chickens outside because if they're not taken care of, they can get messy. They can get dirty. And if it's like a rooster, it could become a nuisance if they're crowing at 5 o'clock or something. Well, so
won't have to buy an alarm.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, we're gonna hear from this week's sponsor, and then we'll get back into the questions. Thank you to Midco this week for sponsoring the episode. Is your business moving up and to the right? Put Midco's business technology to work for you, so you never have a slow day at the office. From premium internet and phone plans to custom private networking and advertising, they have a solution for every type of business, large or small. Get paired with an account representative, create your suite of services, and make the switch with ease with dedicated business client fulfillment and support teams. No data caps, flexible contracts with month-to-month or long-term options, built-in DDoS protection, and more. Explore services and request a free consultation at midco.com/business today. Okay, so let's hop back into the questions here. You mentioned Strength in ND earlier in the episode. Let's maybe talk a little bit about that. How did that opportunity present itself, and what are you kind of looking for or what are you going to be doing there?
Yeah, so this year at the beginning of the farming season or earlier this spring, Anne had actually reached out and asked if she could kind of be like my mentor type of thing.
Okay.
And so she has mentored me all throughout this summer. And then with that, presented this opportunity with the Strong Farm Incubator down by Baldwin. So they've got this greenhouse. I think she went into a little bit more, but they've got a greenhouse there, and there's going to be hopefully 5 interns that will be at the farm.
Okay.
And they'll be able to kind of do whatever they're interested in. So if they're, want to do like flower farming, or if they want to do vegetable, whatever. So they just have land there. They've got somebody that will be there actually helping them. And then they also are going to have this opportunity to take courses along with the internship. And that's where I step in.
Oh, okay.
So I'm helping create the curriculum with Anne. We're kind of doing it together. And then once they're actually starting the program, we'll do like monthly Zooms where I'll go through the course information and do all the educating.
Do your
side.
educating, yeah. Is that kind of cool creating your own curriculum then?
Yeah. I mean, we really are like just starting,
Yeah.
but I'm excited for it. Like I've got the whole, she gave me like a whole layout of all the different topics. I'm like, yes. Yeah.
That's cool that you can take, your previous career and what you're doing in education and then flip it into now what you are doing and kind of blend the two.
Right. And I feel like what's really cool is we're only like a year, maybe 2 into this whole farming thing. And so I'm very fresh. Like I have gone through a lot of these things or issues that arise when you're starting a business that I can, share with these people that will also be starting their own. Cause that's kind of what the purpose is for those people to start their own like farm business.
Okay.
So
it's for those 5 interns to eventually do a CSA or their own farming or go to the farmer's market, whatever it is. Okay, so business-wise then, you mentioned business. Let's maybe go into that a little bit. What was it like starting a business? Did you know anything at the beginning?
No, literally knew nothing. I used to always say that YouTube was my best friend, and I still do like YouTube, and I have still learned a lot from them. from that. But I do feel like I have started to shift more towards reaching out to like people in our actual community, just because I don't know. It's more like, hey, I'm reaching out about this specific question. They can answer. It's not like broad like YouTube can be. I feel like the people you reach out to are more experience-driven knowledge and tactical advice they can give you, whereas YouTube is almost like a substitute for taking a class. Yes, exactly. Yeah, and there's just so many great businesses in the Minot area. I mean, you have a podcast just about Minot businesses.
We're trying to share them all.
Yeah, so it's just there's so many people to bounce ideas off of and ask questions, and it doesn't have to I don't have to just talk to other farmers. I mean, it's great to talk with them, but I learn things from Prairie Sky Breads. I learn things from all these different people. So. Yeah. And
I think there are a lot of different avenues you have to go down in business. I mean, marketing, you said you really enjoyed the marketing aspect. You could potentially talk to a marketing firm, learn what they're doing, or, the business side of things. If you can't figure out how to do your taxes, talk to an accountant.
Oh man, that's where both my husband and I struggle with like the back end stuff. Like our first year we didn't this is embarrassing, but like we didn't have the whole like budget and everything down to a T. Like came time for taxes and I was like, I should have saved a lot of receipts and just like all these things, but we're learning, we're figuring it out.
But that's something you got to go through. I think.
It is. I mean, how do you know to change if you don't
go
through it?
And especially growing up, like my parents never were in business. My mom's a teacher or my dad's a teacher. My mom works at Trinity. So the business side of things, I never knew about taxes, expenses, what's a write-off, what are things I can write off. Yeah. So you kind of learn as you go through it. I remember when I first started my taxes, I would have a spreadsheet, like here's what I spent. Here is what people paid me. And then I would just give that to someone to do, someone to do my tax. I'm like, I don't even know if that's it. But now it's evolved over the years where there's more intricate spreadsheets. There's softwares we're using, but it's hard to know that stuff in the beginning without, like you said, being like, oh shit.
Dive in. Yeah. Like, oh,
that's the one thing about business I always forget. Like if you're a W-2 employee, your taxes are taken out, right? Usually covered. Whereas business, it's like, you better set aside some money. Cause if you're making a profit, at the end of the year, you're going to have to pay something on it.
Right. Exactly.
So challenges then, did you have any challenges, any that really stick out for when you started your business? Anything you had to work through besides the tax side of things?
Really, not really. I mean, everything was new to us. So, with the actual farming itself, learning how to put up fences and, doing all that kind of stuff. It's time management and, actually waking up in the morning and going to do the farm chores and not being like, I'm going to sleep in a little bit longer type of thing, which we're always working on improving everything. But I would just say kind of like just becoming a farmer. Like that's not an easy task.
So you had no farm background until like 2 years ago.
So, I mean, I grew up in Minnesota and I grew up in a town. I did work on a dairy farm in high school.
Okay.
It wasn't my dairy farm. I literally went there, I milked the cows, and then I left. I knew nothing about like anything. I didn't pay attention. I was just naive. I just was like, I just need a paycheck and I don't want to work. Like, it was nice because I could go there before school and it was like 2 hours, and then I could go there after school 2 hours, but I could still make it to the basketball games, you know, things like that.
Where you didn't think you'd be doing a CSA 2 years.
Right, exactly. Right. I didn't think I would ever have livestock of my own. Like, so yeah, I mean, that's my background. And then Forrest, they always had livestock at the farm. They always were doing that, but like, he wasn't interested in that when he was there. And he'll tell that story over and over again. Like, I didn't care about the farm. I left the farm like excited to leave to go to, like, he went to school at NDSU and he was like, I went to school to be a teacher because I thought it was the easiest courses. Like, he's like, I just wanted to get out of there. And then now he looks back and he's like, damn, I missed out on like a really great opportunity, because everybody had retired by the time we moved back. So like, there was no animals there. All the farming equipment was sold and whatever. So
that's interesting, because you talk to people that are in the farming industry, and I would say 90% of them are literally just passed down from family to family to generation, where you don't see too many that's like, all right, we're firing her up again.
Right. Yeah. I just saw a statistic. I'm not going to say the actual numbers because I'll butcher it, but it was something like 60% of farmers today are like pushing retirement age, but like 40% of young people aren't wanting to like take the family farm over. But then there's also like another group of people, I don't know, another 40% or something, that are young people that are wanting to get into farming, but they don't have that farmer grandparent to pass the farm down. So it was like a post talking about trying to figure out how to mesh those two types of people together. But yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah.
Have you seen, there is some, again, it's a study, I won't say so butcher, but they're saying a lot of people that own these boring businesses, you could call them, you know, car washes, laundromats, whatever it might be, all those people are getting to a retirement age where there's going to be a big arbitrage on just purchasing these boring buildings. So instead of me going to start up my own business, if I go buy one of these places, they don't have people to hand them down to. And there's going to be, apparently, I don't know, some study said they're all getting to their maturity date.
So it'll just be like a bunch of empty buildings.
Yeah. So, well, I'm just going to buy all these businesses. I'm going to be like Walter White. I'm going to own a bunch of car washes, launder money through it. It's going to be a good time.
There you go. I mean, man, there's so many car washes in this town.
Yeah.
I feel like every corner there's a new car wash.
How often do you get a car wash?
Not often.
Same here.
Like, I don't get it, but they're always busy.
But I think you can do a subscription service. You pay monthly, and then I think people that have those go 2-3 times a week.
You think so?
I think so. I know someone for sure that does it. Yeah.
No, our car is like, we drive on gravel every day. So I'm like,
Yeah. Well, I got a black pickup, so it gets a little dirty. But yeah, when I do it, the only time I ever get a car wash is when my punch card gets filled from purchasing gas. So I'm like, sick. Apparently it's time for a car wash. But yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the 1%ers that are doing these subscription service, but I think it'd be nice. It's nice driving around a clean vehicle.
For sure.
But North Dakota, it gets so dirty so fast.
Yeah.
But what do you do, I guess? But anyways, back into the business side of things. We're not slandering you if you have a car wash subscription. We're just a little jealous. Is there anything that you wish you knew? So if you could go back and tell yourself when you started, I wish I knew this, what would it be?
Yeah. So when we started, I don't think I really touched on this, but we started by watching some YouTube videos. There was a big April snowstorm.
Okay.
And we were stuck at home watching YouTube, and we decided, I think we're going to get some livestock. And so we actually got some bottle calves.
Okay.
And
that was the first one?
Yeah.
The first.
We got two. Well, we had some chickens, but that's kind of like the gateway drug for farming. Everybody's got chickens.
Chickens is the weed of farming.
Exactly. Yeah. So we got 2 calves. They were born during the snowstorm. Their mother didn't, whatever. So we had to bottle feed them. Anyways, so we got those, and then we ended up getting some pigs, and then we got ducks, and we got more chickens. And so we were like diversifying, but it was not like what diversifying should be from what I understand it to be now. So we got very burnt out very quickly. Like holy crap, how am I supposed to take care of all these different animals?
I was just going to ask you, how did you take care of all of them?
Yeah. It was just like, I mean, we were doing it, but it felt like we weren't doing it to the best that we could. And so now I understand diversifying more as, okay, so we've got chickens. Okay, we do meat chickens, and then we have our laying hens. So the laying hens lay eggs. The meat chickens are bred for meat. They're a very different kind of bird. Then I have my meat chicken. So my laying hen gives me eggs. That's pretty much all she does.
Yep.
My meat chicken gives me a whole chicken that I can sell.
Yep.
It gives me feet, which I started dehydrating them for dog treats, which has been one of our...
Don't tell me you eat them.
No, but some people do. They like make broth with them or they eat them. I'm not... It's not me, but I'm not good for you if you do that.
To each their own.
Yep. But so we started dehydrating them for dog treats. And I was like, why? I'd never thought that I would be making dog treats. But it's like, we will bring like 70 chicken feet to a farmer's market and they're sold out in like 5 minutes. I kid you not.
That's a thing. I've never even heard of.
Have you ever seen like a pig ear at a pet store?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. But
I don't, the weird limbs of animals eating, like people are like, I ate a deer's heart. And I'm like, it's probably good, but I just can never get myself to do it. You know?
Yeah. It's different. And especially when like you're just used to, the modern diet of
it's like, give me its leg. I'll just take it. Take some bacon.
Yeah. So anyways, the whole chicken, we got the chicken, we've got the feet, and we can take out like the gizzards, and people will eat like pickled gizzards. So then I just look at that. I'm like, okay, that's how you diversify. You have this one animal and you can do 5 different things with it. We don't need to have every single animal, and we don't need like that's kind of where like we jumped in, and it was just very overwhelming.
Okay.
But we kept hearing, you need to diversify. Like if you want to have good quality income, like you need to have many avenues, but I did not understand like what that really meant. And now I do. Like we've got the farmer's market, we've got our website, we're trying to get a farm store up and running. So it's like just that kind of thing. That's something that I really learned. But
do you think you'll ever move into beef? Do you do beef right now?
So we raised kind of funny story, sad story. So we got our 2 bottle calves,
Yep.
And we had planned on raising those for beef.
Yeah.
One of them got struck by lightning.
Struck by lightning.
And I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it's pretty common with cattle because they're just, out in the middle of nowhere. But it was right next to our house. I was like, it was the middle of the night. I woke up, my child was awake and I was feeding her, and I was like, oh man, that was a big lightning. And my husband was still awake. He was sitting on the couch. I texted him and I'm like, you should probably go make sure nothing started on fire, because it sounded like it was a tree by our house or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was
and I assumed they're dead on impact.
Instantly, yeah. Which that's good. But like, what? It was very traumatic. Yeah. And like, what do you do? Like, what?
What did it look like? I'm going to probably ask a few questions here, but.
So it got super bloated. It kind of seemed like it must have maybe gone up in the air a little bit because its neck was like bent backwards when it landed, unless it just fell over and that's how it landed. But it was like instantly bloated. It had the whole like poop of death thing.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like we knew that she was dead right away. But
any like burnt? Like, was it darker? Was there lightning bolts? Because I know some people that get struck by lightning and then they live. They have like not lightning bolts, but like they have the vein looking thing all over.
I guess I'm not sure. I didn't look super closely at it. My husband and his dad just took care of it. But I've heard that. So like a lot of people ask us like, well, did you do anything with it? Did you eat it? Or like, did you, whatever? No, we didn't, because when I looked it up right away, like, what am I supposed to do? Well, they just said like it kind of gets cooked right away. And so like if you're not cutting that up and putting that in your freezer like immediately, you can have, like bacteria growth or whatever. So I was like, so
you guys just threw it away, I assume.
Yeah, just like composted it. But.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. Lightning's crazy. I think about lightning more than I should. And I don't really understand how it works. Like I was driving to Bismarck probably 2 months ago. And there was this big storm, and I was just thinking about lightning. And like this is a conversation for my other podcast where we talk about stupid stuff. But yeah, lightning's fascinating to me.
Yeah. So anyways, as far as the beef goes, we did raise the one, and then she was kind of smaller, so we just kept her for our own meat. But so we've got a bunch of pigs right now, and we're kind of in the boat of if we're able to sell all of those, then we're going to get some dairy cows actually. And then whatever calves they have, if they have like a male or a steer, then my husband will do the selling of the beef side. I kind of like the dairy side just because I grew up doing it. And now that it's legal to drink raw milk here, I'm like, okay.
Oh, it is? Was it illegal before?
Yeah, you had to buy raw milk through a herd share. So basically you would pay to like own part of the cow, and then in return you get milk.
Huh.
So.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Why would that be illegal?
Well, because
is it a question we shouldn't answer?
No, it's not. It's just like it depends on how you look at it. So like the FDA or whatever, I don't even know if it's the FDA, just the people that control the food system, they look at it, and so it's not pasteurized, so it's just raw milk. So there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. So there's a risk of getting sick if you don't take care of it, or like if the people milking aren't, providing clean area and whatever. But there's a lot of health benefits to it as well. So
interesting.
It's just kind of like one of those things, like deer heart.
Yeah.
It's just one of those,
people do their own thing, which hey, more power to you.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple more questions here for you, and then we'll wrap it up. What do you see the future of Esther's Acres? What are some plans you have on the horizon? What can we expect to see out of you?
Yeah. So I would say our first thing that we're working on right now is the multi-farm CSA. And as long as that goes well this fall, probably going to launch a summer one. I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't do it. Just work on that and see how that goes. What's nice about that is I don't have to provide everything, but I can provide, chicken. So if we do 100 shares, all I have to do is provide the chicken. I don't have to provide 100 of everything. Mm-hmm. So it just seems like so much easier to scale that. Yeah. Which is where I'm excited about. Like we want to scale. Yeah.
If you focus on one thing, it's much easier to do that one thing.
Yeah, exactly. Better. So that's kind of where my mindset right now is doing that. We're in the process of opening up a farm store at the farm. Mostly it was kind of an idea because farmers market is ending, and I'm like, I'm still getting like 1,000 eggs a week. Yeah. What am I supposed to do?
So that's something where they can just come there and buy them just like they would at a farmer's market.
Right, exactly. And I think we're still dabbling with the idea of coming into town like once a week to deliver at like Oak Park or something. Like come meet us here. And then at the Air Force Base, because we're pretty close to that. But yeah, farm stores hopefully going to be a successful thing. I've even thought about, like, when I started doing the multi-farm thing, I was like, maybe we could put like some other producers' items in our store as well. So if people are coming out, they're not just coming for eggs. They come out and they're like, oh, I have a purpose to come here. It's not just eggs that I could go to the grocery store and get whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Don't want to drive an extra 15 miles for eggs.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Because then it kind of supplements a farmer's market in the winter when you can do it yourself. So you're listening to the show. You know what questions come in Mount Rushmore business advice. Look at that. She's prepared. We like when you're prepared. One other person came in here with a note sheet.
It was Anne.
Was it Anne?
And when I saw her do that, I was like,
that's
genius.
Smart. That's smart. I was going to say, I wanted to say it was Anne, but it's smart. Yeah. Because this is usually the question that stumps people the most.
It's hard to think of 4 things on the spot.
It is. All right. Let's hear 'em.
So my first one is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. I've learned a lot.
That's why you came on the podcast?
Yeah. I've just learned a lot from like people like Anne, Don't be afraid to collaborate with other businesses. It almost always works out for the best. And if it doesn't, it's a learning experience that you'll probably benefit from.
Yep, I agree.
Understand what diversifying means and don't feel like I need to do everything or you need to do everything. Work hard, but also make sure you're working on your business and not for your business. Like find the parts that you're passionate about and try new things, but don't be like working 24/7.
Yeah. Was that hard to differentiate between working in the business and on the business?
It still is. Yeah. And especially it's all at home. Everything is work from home. You're at the farm. So I've been like, I brought a desk out to our farm store. I'm like, I'm going to work over here. So I'm not working in my living room on my couch, type of thing. Like,
what would be your advice? The best way for people to try to differentiate those. Cause even I am not great at it from time to time. There'll be times I'll go 2 weeks straight just working on client work. And then after that, I'm like, I haven't done anything on the business.
Right. I don't know. It's honestly something I'm still working on, but I feel like taking a step back and just like looking at it from like the outside, like, okay, what is something that I can actually do to work on the business and not work for the business? Like, I do all this other like social media managing for other places. And I'm like, I feel like I've got like all these awesome strategies for them. And then I look at our farm and I'm like, what am I doing?
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
I give advice on what clients should do video wise and create content. And then I try to do it for myself. I'm like, I am stumped.
Yeah. It's hard. So, I mean, just taking time to take a break so that you can get that like creative, motion back into your head. But
the creative juice is flowing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. Where can the listeners connect with you and Esther's Acres? Where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find us. Our website is www.estersacresnd, as in North Dakota.com. And then on social media at Esther's Acres.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll put that in the description below. It's been a pleasure. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
To our listeners, as always, your feedback means a lot to us, so please rate and review the podcast. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Minot Business Podcast.